Hey Peer Youth, just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be starting, well, we're actually continuing. We finished First Peter. We're going to be starting now Second Peter. I think it's only fitting that we read both of Peter's letters kind of back to back because there's a lot of connecting ideas, but it also, Peter builds on some new ideas, and I think it's really interesting because we see here that Peter, the same guy who wrote First Peter, also writes Second Peter, and he writes it actually to the same group of believers in Asia Minor, which you guys may remember is modern day Turkey. So in a way, Peter is following up, and he is addressing some new issues, but also reflecting on past issues that he brought up. And we see here that as Peter is writing, he's most likely writing from the same place he wrote First Peter from, which is Rome. And we see in this letter there's an interesting fact that Peter kind of addresses, that he is pretty confident that he is drawing close to death. He's not going to be living much longer. Which, man, could you imagine, like, knowing your days were numbered um, and writing based off of that circumstance? Just like a crazy thing to think about. So Peter, and the reason we know that Peter, he addresses it specifically, but according to church history, it's actually under the rule of the Roman Emperor Nero. That's when Peter is recorded in history as being persecuted and executed. And this is right around the time where Peter is writing Second Peter. So it seems as if there's this undertone where Peter he knows that persecution is like knocking at his door. He knows people are threatening his life. They know that he is kind of one of the main leaders of this Christian movement that, the Roman Empire they did not like, because, like we've discussed, this new Christian movement is talking about how Jesus is the Lord and not the Roman emperor. So Peter is kind of being, in a lot of ways, weighed down by this reality that his days are numbered, but he doesn't take that and become despairing, but he actually uses it as an opportunity to write Second Peter. So almost like, imagine yourselves, guys, if you knew for some reason, you knew that you're going to be drawn close to death. What would you write? What sort of words of wisdom and truth would you impart? There's a lot of weight to what we would think about and what we would want to say in a time like that. So in a lot of ways, this is Peter's kind of closing thoughts. And think about Peter, a man that walked with Jesus for 3 years and then began to advance and pursue and plant God's kingdom and God's church all over the world, and encouraging that and being this key figure and growing in his faith, and all of that leading up to this point of what is it that I want to impart to these believers in Asia Minor, that we also now, believers in Long Beach and Orange County and whatnot, we now get to benefit. And that's exactly what Peter wanted to do. Peter was wanting to write this letter for the coming generations of believers, and now we get to benefit from that, which is so amazing. And he kind of gives, overall, there's a kind of this final challenge that Peter kind of starts his letter off with, basically just challenging us to never stop growing. That we need to continue to grow, continue to pursue the Lord, continue to grow in the power of His Spirit. And we also see that he gives kind of two major warnings, both regarding the corrupt leaders that were kind of surrounding, some of them within the church and some of them outside of the church. But they were, specifically, Peter calls out these leaders' corrupt way of living, but also their corrupt way of teaching, or the fancy word theology, study of God. They were corrupting their teaching, but they were also living out this kind of corrupt lifestyle, these leaders. And of course, these leaders were influencing the churches. So Peter wanted to kind of call that out and warn the churches of this. And in the end, we see, overall, Second Peter is a letter of just passionate conviction. Peter wasn't making this stuff up. He wasn't doing lip service. Peter believed deep in his heart these truths that he wrote to the believers in Asia Minor. But overall, the conviction here is that God is a God who loves the world, and He is determined to rescue it. But on top of that, God is one who must confront and deal with evil and corruption in order to open a way to the new future. So I just encourage you guys, man, as all of you sit in the conviction of Peter, in this final kind of ending letter of his life. I pray that the Spirit would teach you and just show you much, and yeah, that it would just bless you. So blessings as you guys continue to read, and we'll see you guys tonight.